Right, welcome to day 3. So this should be press assistance Thursday. Now, similar to what we did on the specific press day, when we did our log presses and our strict log presses, we need to mobilise and activate very similar muscle groups. So I've got some different mobilisation drills for your thoracic spine, and the beauty of showing you a different couple of techniques to do the same thing is some of you will find more benefit from one versus the other. So don't be frightened at this point as you're moving through your program to start to jump on the movements that feel like they work more effectively for you. So we're going to mobilise your thoracic spine. That's piece number 1. Piece number 2, we're going to start to fire up the scapular muscles. So very much like we did with the YT3 face pull, we're going to start to recruit serratus anterior, middle and lower fibres of your traps, and that's going to give you better stability in that overhead and in that horizontal pushing position. And then we're going to move on to a little bit of rotator cuff work, because in this situation you're going to find that your rotator cuff, either when you're horizontal pressing, like you would do for your bench pressing, or when you're vertical pressing, like you would do with your axle press, the rotator cuff is an integral part of that joint stability mechanism around the shoulder. So for the purposes of this next 10 minutes, you're going to need a foam roller and you're going to need a thin resistance band. So piece number 1, this is our threading the needle exercise. Now using the foam roller, I find you can get more purchase into that thoracic rotation. So I find you can get more of a stretch and more of a mobilisation effect into your thoracic spine. Now, same rules apply. We're going to think about organisation of our spine. So we're going to try and keep the rib cage down, keep the abdominals reasonably tight. Obviously you need to give the abdominals a little bit as you're rotating across to one side. But the primary function of this movement is to get your thoracic spine moving. I would say 70% of the rotation in your body comes through your thoracic spine. So when we're doing stuff like stones and log pressing and axle pressing, you need that thoracic mobilisational movement in order to move efficiently, but you also need it from a shoulder stability perspective, hence the reason why it's the first piece in your press assistance Thursday session. Now, 4-point kneeling position, so shoulders over hand, hips over the knees, other hand on top of the foam roller, and what we're going to do here is slide the arm across, taking ourselves as far into the rotation as we can do. Now really try and hunt out the corners of this movement. So what you'll find, as you do a few repetitions, you find you can go a little bit further into the stretch. Don't be frightened to readjust your foam roller. If it moves, you can do 30 seconds on the left hand side, swap over, 30 seconds on the right hand side, and that's piece number 1. Right, so moving on to piece number 2 now. This is your wall slide. Now with your foam roller, with a flat piece of wall, we're going to think about 3 things as we're moving through the wall slide. So we're going to reach, we're going to round, so you're going to round the thoracic spine, and you're going to rotate. So we're going to think about the shoulder blade, the bottom of your shoulder blade, coming round the side of your back as you're performing these movements. Foam roller on the wall, starting with your wrists, so the crease of your wrist in line with the foam roller. Slight step back, so you've got a little bit of weight onto the foam roller itself. And then we're going to reach, we're going to round, and we're going to think about the scapula rotating. So we're going to reach, we're going to round, and we're going to think about the scapula rotating. Now you're going to do 2 sets of 10 reps on this, and by the time you finish your first set of 10, you should find that you've got a really nice burning sensation where the muscles around the shoulder blade are activating. So that's piece number 2, that's your wall slide. So piece number 3, I remember we talked about creating stability in an overhead position. So your rotator cuff, the external rotator part of your rotator cuff, is really important in being able to keep your arm either in a vertically efficient pressing position or a horizontally efficient pressing position. So this is a rotator cuff stabilisation activation exercise. We're using a thin red resistance band attached around your power rack or your bench. We're going to lie onto the floor, because what we want to try and do here is get the scapula fixed and nice and stable, and then literally work from that point there. So you can go all the way forwards into internal rotation and then as far back into external rotation as you can. Now on this one, we're going to try and aim for 2 sets of 10 reps on the right side, 2 sets of 10 reps on the left, and then you'll move into your specific press warm-ups.